Thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by our friend, Mr. Kevin Ellis from the Land and New Homes Network. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm really good, Mintz. You all good?
I'm all good. I'm all good. When we originally started out these silver bullets, it was, again, meant to sort of propose a solution to a problem. And at the time, the problem that was in the press and all the industry press, and particularly in the run up to the end of that stamp duty cutoff, was all around stock levels. We were all moaning that our stock had dwindled. We'd sold everything we possibly could. I'm still hearing those moans from the market in as much as stock levels are at an all-time low. I think there was a survey done last week which said something like agents have an average of 8 properties each, if they're lucky, that are available and can be sold. And we're about to sort of go into Christmas, and there's a lot of people hoping, wishing and praying that Santa's going to deliver a shed load of instructions for next year. That's not necessarily the case, is it?
No, I think, look, we work with obviously agents all across the country. I think it's coming out loud and clear. The cream is rising at the moment in the sense that agents that have really sort of grasped it and are really hunting hard, of building some good market share and some good hope for what the larder, if you like, is going to look like going into January. But I think let's get a bit realistic here. It is going to be tougher. That seems to be what everyone's sort of saying in terms of stock levels. Hope is not a good thing to be relying on. So I think there's quite a few things that as agents and suppliers like ourselves can be doing to try and hopefully give a little bit of inspiration and confidence around that, really.
So I think you used a word earlier, which is hunt, and I think that a lot of the agents who have lived through, first of all, if you're a negotiator out there and you've never worked in another market other than the past 18 months, and if you think that sales just walk themselves through the door and that properties just fly off the shelves because you've got 30, 40 people vying for each one, that's not the reality of a normal market for veteran estate agents. We remember times where interest rates were, they're talking about bringing those up, but when I got into property, I think they were somewhere at sort of 7-8%. I know some people who remember them at 14-15%. There are challenges that are going to be thrown our way. And I think that a lot of agents have become a little bit lazy in terms of hunting and really foraging for those instructions. What do Land and New Homes bring to the table in terms of things that agents might not be currently considering but should?
Okay, so I think let's look at the house builder number one. So the house builder falls into one of the four Ds that are obviously going to be sort of the motivation. So aside of sort of the death, debt, divorce, whatever, you very firmly have got developers in there. So developers over the last 2-3 years have been hugely active in the acquisition of land. Okay, so what they would have done is bought land at whatever that market was doing at that point in time. Everything is all centered around the mobilization of getting construction underway. And obviously the government have done a massive push in terms of obviously sort of keeping that bit. So the flow, if you like, of new homes coming through, that will maintain. Off the back of that, because Help to Buy has changed in parts, there are lots of sort of peripheral opportunities that obviously sort of arrive. So, the person that's the Help to Buy, a person that maybe is coming out of a rental property, well, that might give a void, or it might mean that landlord is going to reappraise their situation around, moving that property on. Likewise, you might have somebody that has got a house to sell. My daughter bought a property from Redrow recently, and the competition for it, had they not been a first-time buyer, they'd have been screwed, to be blunt. So this sort of ability, if you like, to be able to, when a plot comes and make that decision to move, there's a whole lot of byproduct work, if you like, around that sort of vendor who's got a house to sell and being market ready. What we found is that, and we've sort of done a big sort of view of this across the country, that the amount of agents that don't even go out and visit a new home site, and this sounds really flipping basic now, but there's zero effort to networking with the lady or chap on site around where those market appraisals go. So that could be a house to sell valuation that's just walked through the door. Maybe they are going to explore assisted move or part exchange, or actually they're just sort of, early stages. Well, that becoming the preferred agent, even on a direct sell site, that is happening all across the country.
Yeah.
So any agent that's not doing that, that's an absolute given.
Because Part X scenarios are something that are very often talked about on those sites, aren't they? And they're going to need an external agent to do that for them.
You have, but I think, again, there's a lot of assumption that part exchange, they're going to get the call from one of the big sort of part exchange agencies, and they're going to offer them a really low fee and this and the other. One of the things that house builders have done in the last sort of 12, 18 months, more and more of them have brought their part exchanges back in-house. And that's really because they need to extract the best value they can, and likewise ensure that that property hasn't just been sort of positioned to the cheap and cheerful agent on the high street who accepted this sort of token instruction, if you like. We know so many agents that have declined that type of business. So forget what the impression may have been. That game has definitely changed, and you're certainly seeing even people like Barratt, Redrow, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey, they're all dealing with their PXs in a slightly different way. So the first bit, if you can't get the attention of the sales director or the PX manager, it starts with really what the agents could be doing on site. And, it isn't just about what can I go and get off of them, it's equally what can the agent offer to the rep on site. And then that might just be some good old fashioned market sentiment, could be a bit of background on whether those, Mrs. Miggins, who's got tied up her house for PX, is, unrealistic in terms of the value. Lots of things, but it all comes down to good old fashioned networking and getting out there.
And that's fantastic. I think that a lot of agents have traditionally found it difficult to get into. Let's face it, people like Barratt that you mentioned, or Bellway, I think, Bellway Homes locally, to me at least in this part of the world, throwing up some developments left, right and centre. They have their own direct sales offices on site. So agents make the mistake of sort of discounting that and thinking it's never going to amount to anything for them.
It will change like the wind, Mintzy. And I think, if a developer is sitting on one site in a region that they've got stock and they've got a problem, even if they said they're going to go direct sell, they will hit the panic button at some point. Now, it might be a no today, but it might be a yes tomorrow. So the challenge is you've got to be very aware of where these things are and be consistent, if you like, in sort of maintaining good, healthy dialogue, sharing market sentiment, all sorts of things. And also, more crucially, sort of being a lot more standout, if you like, around how or what the services that you can offer them in a part exchange or assisted move vendor that might be a little bit more than your standard offering, because shaping it in that way is very appealing then for a house builder to align themselves really.
But let's say we're quite a forward-thinking agent, and we don't just want to go after one instruction today, but we maybe want to sort of invest some time into identifying plots that could lend themselves for redevelopment. There is still an appetite from developers there to bring more new houses to the market. In fact, every week our press is full of whether or not we're going to be able to hit the targets set by government in terms of new homes that need to be built. People still need those opportunities. To a great extent, established agents drive past those sites every day. They just don't realize it. That is something that you help with a lot.
Yeah, we focus on that a lot, and the simple reason for that is we're focusing on using land as our currency if we're trying to help agents, win the bigger ticket prize, which, let's face it, all the agents really want is a good supply of new homes income, and to be aligned as the preferred agent on a particular site, which might give a good continuity. However, you're absolutely right, Mintzy, that the delivery of land is crucially important. What is interesting is that land, if you just attune your eyes to looking for things, it's amazing. Okay, it might give you like a one-shot nice big chunky fee. And we've just got an example of one agent who's left us a very positive review on the Kerfuffle site, who he's just had £100,000 payday on one land deal. And that's going to give him new home sales, you know, maybe not next year, but certainly in 2023. But he's had £100,000 straight off one-off invoice from brokering a land deal, which he probably has been working on for 18 months. Now, that's not uncommon. It is uncommon if you don't make any effort to, you know, to reach out to house builders and work out what their requirements are and actually, you know, shape it into your armory. But I think the silver bullet for me is all about how we utilize the whole ecosystem around land and new homes. So yes, we've got land deals that are absolutely sitting there waiting to be done. They're certainly looking at the planning data for most parts of the country, an awful lot of unbuilt consented sites. You'll have to bear in mind that a lot of the volume guys will be controlling big land banks. Yep. So if you're looking at a consented site of 2, 3, 4, 500 or whatever upwards, the volume guys will be well in control of that. But we are seeing more and more consent sites, certainly 20 units to 50, which are going to have a lot easier to deliver. We're seeing a lot more of those. Deals are getting brokered. Maybe timing was right or wrong, or you know, all sorts of things that sort of got factored in there. But you know, these planning applications or consents, you know, they've got a lifespan, normally 3 years. So you know, the closer and closer it's getting to, you know, the consent lapsing, which no developer really wants.
There were some special dispensations that the government offered on planning during COVID, just to give people an extra bit of time, but that's
gone.
Grace period, you know, now is gone, right?
Yeah, that's gone. So you're back to, you know, they've got to make a decision. Either they're implementing the consent to get it started, or they're weighing up their options. The thing that, you know, most developers will be looking at, or landowners, because it will have got worse. You know, if the consent lapses or they're going back in for a resubmission, you know, the chances are that things like Section 106 and SIL costs will be higher now than they probably were when the consent was given 2 or 3 years ago. Now, market values might cover that bit, but you know, for some that's a bit of a big gamble, particularly if you're having to provide more affordable housing or contribute more in terms of your SIL costs, which, you know, start to make land viable or unviable.
So those opportunities are there, but you were saying that the other sort of tools in your kit bag are the silver bullet to help agents identify more opportunities.
I think the silver bullets, like I said, yeah, we've got everything in the toolbox to deal whatever the silver bullet might be, whether that's a one-shot ticket to, you know, a chunky land fee, or it's getting through the door of a house builder to be in pole position. The great thing, and I've said it, you know, on sort of previous webinars and things we've done, you know, the great thing is right now for an agent is that in their town there is a crystal ball, and there is a crystal ball that will show the new homes that are going to get delivered next year and the year after and the year after that. That is out there for any agent to have right now. So if they don't have that silver bullet, drop me a message. I'll happily share with you what the crystal ball looks like in terms of that. But that for me would be the absolute silver bullet, which I think is very much out there.
It's the name of the game. It's certainly the name of this one. So let's just cover one bit that agents I know always are worried about. If I'm a smaller agency and I want to take advantage of these sort of things, then obviously the best way to do it is to invest in it and to have somebody dedicated within the team that is going to be able to look at London new homes as a real sort of niche. I know that needn't be the case. If agents are hesitant about making that sort of initial investment, what do you guys do in terms of gently introducing them to that new market?
Okay, so I think first and foremost, we are farming the UK in the sense of land opportunities where we don't have members. So we had a good example last week. There's an agent who, due to a clash in one town, does have a land opportunity in another one of his office areas, and he's reached out to us and said, look guys, we can't do it, don't know what to do, but we've got control with the vendor, can you help? So we stepped in, and the deal that we've done is very much, a share of the fee, and of course he'll be protected on the future resales. I think the thing for any agent, and I appreciate the cost is always going to come into it, or how people can invest, or what time seems to be the biggest sort of enemy around it. I think if you've just got a want or an interest in understanding the land in new homes piece, it doesn't have to be all in. There are lots of different ways that we can provide solutions to agents to at least leverage their network or the opportunities that might exist in their town. So we're daily helping agents that aren't members of our network. So, whether that's a bit of sort of guidance, or we're doing a lot more of the heavy lifting for them. So I think the key really, Mintz, is just, for anyone just to talk to us, and, we can shape it accordingly. It's, there's more than one way to skin the cat. And, the key is that every single agent out there has land and new homes opportunities in their patch. They probably just don't necessarily know where to find it or where to start. And the best thing they could do is start with just having a chat with us, and there won't be any heavy sell by a long shot, but hopefully we can give a bit of hope and a bit of guidance along the way.
Fantastic. Well, all of Kevin's details and his fantastic team can be found at kerfuffle.com. Kevin, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Pleasure. Thanks, Mintzy.